Hi, this is Reiner, founder of the Fellowship of Mindful Tech Leaders. And in today's interview, we're here and I'm talking with Martin Flügge. Martin is an engineering leader at Zalando and has been working on a lot of interesting things. And so we thought it might be really cool if Martin here shares some of his experiences and insights around certain topics that are also helpful for a lot of other tech leaders who've been probably viewing this podcast here. And so welcome, Martin, first.
Yeah. Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure. And maybe I mentioned a little bit that you're working in engineering lead at Zalando. Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit. Tell me, usually say a short version of your life's journey so far, which could be, of course, also of interest for others to relating what you've been doing.
All right. Yeah, cool. So I'm Martin, as you said. Actually, I work at the moment as engineering leader at Zalando. So if I should give a brief history of my career, it actually started I think for most engineers in a way that I just did not know what to do, and I think you will see this is part of my career, and I just decided I want to do something with computers. So I actually started there. I started an apprenticeship, and after the apprenticeship, I started to do real works as an engineer. But I quickly found out that something was missing there. So I wanted to have more knowledge, insights. So then I actually decided to study. And as I was already working, I worked in parallel to my studies, 20 hours, sometimes 30 hours. So I had a lot of working experience during my studies. And after I reached the end of my studies, there was another way where I had to decide about something. And I tried to make a Ph.D. So this was actually never my plan, but it was a quick decision after the end of my studies. Then I was working unofficial substitute project manager at the Charité, at the University Hospital in Berlin, kind of leading people. So this was actually the first time when I had leading experiences. Also, this was not disciplinary, so it was just working with people. But they kind of observed me as a lead, and I kind of acted like this without knowing what leadership is. So after 3 years, then kind of turned out that I did a lot of things there and I learned a lot of things. Unfortunately, I did not finish my PhD studies, and it turned out that it would have taken me 3 more years to finish this. So I just decided to go back to the industry, worked as a senior engineer there for a while, transitioned then into an IT project manager. And after that, I accidentally, again, stumbled into this leadership role. So I just had the opportunity, and I said, okay, let's try this out. And yeah, this tryout now takes for, I think, more than 6 years. And that's where I am. So an engineering leader, and I think I'm caught into this.
So you became a leader in 2014, basically?
Yeah, I would say it was around 2014, exactly.
It was more by accident, so to speak.
Yeah, this was actually when the IT project that I was leading there came to an end. There was no other project, and I had the decision whether I want to become the lead engineer or take over a possibility as engineering leader, or just leave the company. And back then I said, okay, I want to still continue with this company, and it sounded too interesting to me, and I said, okay, maybe I will never have the chance to lead something and try this out. So I just jumped into the Shark Bay and tried to swim there.
Sounds good. And how do you like it so far? Was it a good decision?
I would say it depends on which day you ask me. So on some days I say, I really love this. This was absolutely the right decision. When you get good feedback from your directs, when you see that you can develop your directs, then I say, okay, this is definitely the one thing that I always wanted to do. Of course, there are sometimes days where things do not work that well, and then I question the decision. Sometimes I think, was it good? I still miss the coding part, so I was really loving coding all the time, and sometimes I really miss this and think, maybe I should go back to engineering. But most of the time, so coding. Most of the time, I would say I'm super happy in being an engineering leader.
Yeah. And that is usually a big decision for senior engineers at some point to decide whether to start moving more into a leadership track, move more into an expert track, become eventually a principal engineer, architect, or whatever. And so that's an important decision, as you said. Both of them have trade-offs, advantages. But yeah, that could be a whole nother topic if we go into this.
Yeah.
But looking now, a lot of stuff happened in the past year with COVID appearing all of a sudden on the landscape. And now looking forward, a lot of things have changed. What do you see currently as one of the major challenges for tech leader nowadays that they're facing in today's world, and also given a lot of uncertainty? And what advice would you say in terms of preparing for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, yeah, as you mentioned, this COVID, I would say this is the biggest change that we have in the last year, and it kind of really influenced the way that I lead teams. And I think the biggest challenge is that you kind of are disconnected to your directs. Because before that, I was in the team area, was seeing them and saw how they connected to each other, saw the communications, had the chance to see if there's a potential conflict arising. Had some fun talks and coffee talks and all this stuff. And nowadays, I just have them in a meeting. I see them on a flat screen. Sometimes they even switch off the camera so that I can even see them. So this makes it super hard to identify if there might be an issue, a conflict, or the people are stressed. So I think you have to develop their other techniques to figure this out. So what I did is like I focus more on the one-on-ones, try to talk more about personal things in the one-on-ones, just to understand if the people are maybe on a wrong track. Because the second thing that really changed is the stress. So for me, it feels like there's more and more stress. Also, we do this remote setup, and I'm like, I think on 12th of March, so more or less we are like 1 year at home. Never visited the office again. But it feels to me like this time that I saved by not going to work is now spent into the work and even more. So the workload also increased. And handling this stress for myself is problematic. Also discovering the stress on the people side. Yeah, and I need to be much more closer to the people, and I think I needed to grow some more antennas to feel that something is wrong just from the small data points that you have. So you have less ways of figuring out what's going on with the directs, and this is something that really changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of those challenges you point out, yeah, I mean, you hear them. It's not something you basically face alone. It's really a global thing. And I think the ability of empathy, compassion, and tuning into your teams is much harder for sure, right? If you if you have this screen with all these little videos, and as you said, some of them you don't even see the face in some meetings. It's definitely much harder, and yeah, agree. That makes sense. I wanted to ask you, since you're a tech leader now for many years, you probably had some time to reflect and really think in terms of bigger picture. What actually is your mission as a tech leader? How do you see your mission currently?
The mission. So I'm not sure if I really have a mission, but there's something that kind of drives me, or actually drives my leadership style. And this is actually, I want to create an environment where people really are happy. So this just reflects on my personal experiences. So we all know that most of the time that we spend is at work, right? So it's like 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours sometimes. And this is, we just live for such a short time on this planet because the years actually pass by super fast. And I want to create an environment where people really feel that they don't waste their lifetime when they come to work. And this was for me actually, I had experiences where it felt for me like wasting lifetime, and this where I felt, okay, I never want to do this or want to have this situation again. And I had situations where I really was passionate and loved to come to work, and I feel sometimes even after 10 hours super refreshed and felt I achieved something. And this is if you want to phrase this like a mission, this is something that I want to achieve for my directs. So that's my driver, one of my drivers.
That's a good one. And so, but when you think about it and reflected that this is your basically mission, helping others to be more happy, make the most also of your and their time. This is an ongoing process, usually in my experience, figuring out what that is that drives you, and that's your inner motivation. Did you have any insights, methods, or when you basically came up with this is it, right? So that could be helpful for other leaders who may have not thought about the mission and thinking about how to identify what their inner motivation, purpose, and mission is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I actually realized this. So it happened also again by accident. So I just realized that motivation can really influence me, and then I started to think about it. And I think this is an advice that I can give if you want to find a mission. Just reflect what drives you, what makes you happy. And I found out that doing something in the engineering, having a good motivation makes me happy. And then I thought about, okay, why is that so? So what happened? What makes me happy? And then I found out that the leads that I had in this time made me happy. So there was a time where leadership was not that widespread and people were not talking about leadership, but I realized that they led me in the way leaders do now. And I said, maybe one day if I become a lead, I want to do the same. And so my advice would be find out what makes you happy and then go to this direction.
That's great. And I think, that's a good one. It's really reflecting on what drives you, what makes you happy. And there's different ways of doing that. That's fun. I would ask you about also what's your definition of success professionally and also as a human being?
Success. I would say you are successful professionally and privately if you are happy. So I think this is important. When you achieve a state, so like I described this before, when you have had a really hard working day and you worked a lot of hours, maybe even overtime, but then you lay in bed and you reflect the day and say, this was a nice day, this was a good day. I think if you come to the state, and I think this is super hard, but this for me is what success means, because then you created maybe some purpose, maybe for the people around you, but at least for you, if you're happy in this moment.
Okay, very good. The other question is around, it's also based on reflecting on yourself as a tech leader in the past years, about your own leadership qualities that help you to be an effective tech leader. And here precisely, I want to ask, what is your superpower as a tech leader?
Superpower. I'm not sure if I have any superpowers. Maybe I should ask my directs about them. If I would say I have a superpower or maybe a strong driver, then I would say it's passion. So if you really light my fire for a topic, then I really want to go these extra miles. So I'm really driven by motivation. And I think sometimes I even can light a fire on other people's side with this motivation. So not always, of course, not everyone can be passionate about the same things. But I think I can motivate people, and at least I can motivate myself to go some more miles if needed. I would say this is kind of superpower.
Absolutely, absolutely. Could you maybe share that people also understand it? Maybe one situation or difficult situation in the past, maybe in the past months or longer before, when you used that superpower basically to solve it?
I'm not sure if I have a concrete example, but if I relate this to this Corona situation, when I had more stress, and actually my workload increased by more than 10%, so at least. But I still does not feel like it is more work. So for me, it's like work and a lot of things to be done, and there's a lot of context switches. But still, it feels to me like I work the same amount of time like I did before, and I think it stems from the passion that I have for the topics and that I want to drive this forward. And if I see the results, I'm super happy. And I hope at least, so just my directs can answer this, I hope that I can kind of spread this passion to them and make these Corona times a bit easier.
Yes. Now, that also, of course, passion is a great motivation. It also, of course, requires a lot of energy as well to keep that motivation fresh, up and running. So I would ask you actually, do you have maybe one suggestion, one strategy that you use to improve that superpower further, right? Because I always think in terms of when it comes to leadership development, it's focus on your strengths, right? And think about how you can get better. Any advice on this particular one, how you can improve that?
Yeah. Okay. How to improve passion? Okay. If I think about this, I think I need to be honest because the superpower is also my kryptonite. So this is like um, it brings me to work more and more and more. And I think one thing to improve this superpower is actually to see my limits and to kind of stop myself if my passion wants to work more. That I kind of listen and understand that my body actually cannot follow my passion and my superpower, and I have to stop and relax. I think this is something that I can improve. And also passion. Sometimes I find myself in situations where I'm super passionate about something, but other people's are not, and then sometimes I can be kind of frustrated because, well, of course, not everyone can be passionate about the same thing, and everyone has their topics on the plate. And I think improving my passion or making more out of my passion is actually just to keep them under control from time to time. And this is something that I would like to improve, and that I think I should improve to leverage more from this superpower.
Okay. Now, switching gears a little bit, as we're here around with the Fellowship of Mindful Tech Leaders, the whole topic of mindfulness, as you know, is really underlying foundation to drive leadership growth, personal growth as well. I'm just curious also on your side, any experience with mindfulness or mindfulness training personally, or even if you have how to apply it in the workplace with one example, that would be great.
I do. So again, like we had this before, I stumbled into this topic without planning this, and this happens like several years ago when I was in a life situation where I actually was forced to reflect myself. So this is like I was kind of stuck in a situation that was not good and was not healthy for me, and I had to change something. And by accident, I stumbled about mindfulness, and I started to exercise on some things. So I actually started with PMR, so with this progressive muscle relaxation. Tried out some breathing techniques, which did not work back in the days. I learned some very basic qigong form, which I still practice from time to time. And these things they really help me in working life, and they really help me to calm myself down. So let's say you have a stressful meeting and maybe you're on 180 because something was not like you expected. As you say, then maybe the passion actually went rogue. This kind of helps me then to slow down, to calm myself down. Also, another example is I try to do in lunch breaks to make some sort of breathing exercise. Now it works, and the super interesting thing about this is now I realized that after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm more refreshed than before. So I didn't expect that this happens. I just wanted to relax, and now I feel that I'm more refreshed, and this is super helpful because then I can start the afternoon with a clear mind. And also this reflecting myself helps me to reflect or see my engineers more. So helps me more to have these fine-grained antennas to hear some words and to see more if people are maybe endangered by burning out and so on. So this experience that I had really helped me, I need to say, to become a better leader and be more sensitive about emotions and the directs.
It seems then you use the techniques you mentioned quite a few, from breathing, qigong, progressive muscle relaxation, probably meditation, some form of meditations, my guess as well. It seems then one of the benefits and what seems to work actually pretty good is stress relief, stress management. It's one of the key things. Maybe the question would be, how do you even got into mindfulness in the first place? Was it because of high stress levels? Because that's also something I'm always curious about, how you got into realizing that this is something interesting to explore.
Yeah, exactly. So I was as I kind of already said this in a very strange life situation, and it was related to a lot of stress, where I kind of had to tackle this stress. And actually, I this Qigong, I learned this from a friend. So I had some discussions with people who were in similar situations. So they kind of helped me there. And this is how I started to train, learn, get more into this mindfulness.
Sounds good. Yeah, and that's how a lot of tech leaders get into it, right? It's usually something that creates some opening where you said, oh, let's explore this a little bit. And then once you start getting in, there's all those different things you can do, and then you experiment, you see what works, what doesn't work. So that's great. Usually, another thing I'm curious about, I'm sure a lot of the listeners here on the video also are curious about. I usually like to ask for some good best practices, but in general, it starts, I think, always with good morning routine. Mm-hmm. And because every person may have different things when one gets up, what that person is doing, but usually over the years you find out that works very well. It helps you to go through the day, work more effectively, whatever it is. Maybe share a little bit of what you do there as part of the morning getting up that helps you to be effective later in the day.
All right. Yeah, I mean, this is like one thing that helps me definitely is my morning tea. So this is like a routine that I have. But before this tea, I shower long times. So this takes like 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. And this is a moment where I really reflect myself. I reflect about how do I feel at the moment, because sometimes you wake up and you're stressed and you don't know why. I use this time usually to understand why I'm in this emotion. So maybe something happened the last day, or I had a bad dream or something like this. And this really helps me to sort out what's going on, maybe to park this emotion and have a more fresh start into the day, because I can just park the negative things because I already thought about them and found out how are they related. Then I usually try to make some short Qigong exercise. So this is like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Sometimes I even skip this. And the third thing that I kind of do is I check my calendar. And I then go through the meetings, and then I try to listen to myself. What kind of emotions do I have when I see the meetings? And then I try to understand, okay, why is this emotion there? And then maybe you have a full week or a full day of stressful meetings where you know, okay, this will be stress. And this also helps me then kind of to focus on this and prepare myself for the day and say, okay, this will be a stressful day. You might be exhausted in the end. But having this clarity and this understanding really helps me. Or, for example, you have a nice meeting maybe in the afternoon, then I know, okay, it might be a series of stressful meetings, but there will be this nice meeting, maybe with a nice colleague. And then I kind of create some anticipation for this meeting, and this also kind of helps me.
Very good. It seems then the shower feels like then probably like some form of meditation, right? And in some sense, right? And then I think then there's also a lot of reflection going on, looking at things coming up and achieving more clarity. And that's great. Yeah, I can see that the combination of those things can be very helpful. And it's also great that you integrate the Qigong, right? Maybe not every day, but that's pretty cool. Very good. Now, in terms of growing as a leader or personal growth, it seems you're definitely doing over the course of the year and months and weeks and days a lot of reflection. That usually gives you also data points on areas where you can improve, get better. Do you have a strategy for this somehow set aside on how to optimize or drive your personal growth? But also, is it a priority? Do you set some time aside really for it every week? Maybe share a little bit on this.
No, so for the personal growth, I must admit that I skipped this for a very, very long time. So I was really, no, this is not correct. So I was not planning for it, so to say. Well, I was really focusing on bringing my team up, working with my team. And of course, while you do things like this and try out things, you really practice and learn. what I parked for a while was really planning something like a career or a growth or something like this. This is something that I picked up some months ago, just to focus again on me. And I try to reflect what is the most important thing that can help one to get better, so personally, privately, and so on. And for me, it's communication, talking to people. So this is like find people where you think they're more experienced in topics like you, and set up regular meetings with them, talk about topics. Even if you have people who are, let's say, less skilled in some topics, then you can also train them, because training, talking about things can also like make your opinion stronger, or your understanding stronger. So teaching people really helps a lot. So I think this is for personal growth the best way. And I'm not a guy who reads books, so I cannot really make that much out of books. I need a communication with people, trying to help them solving problems, asking people about solving my problems or some ideas. So these thought partnerships, I think they are really helpful for me personally, and maybe for others to grow into topics.
So one question I had now was on, as a tech leader, usually over the years, as you're doing this for many years, you develop at the end of the day principles. I call them simply leadership principles that serve you well, where you basically know, if I do it this way, right? This is a principle. I know that this is something that works for me very well, right? And then over the years, I'm sure you build up a few of those. Now, maybe you can share just one principle where you said for other tech leaders, where you said this is very effective, served you well.
A principle. Okay, I'm not sure if this is a principle, but this is something like a model or a guideline that I stumbled about some years ago. And this is, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So I saw this sentence on the laptop of one of my leads, and since then, this really influenced the way how I lead, and also how I perceive failures. So since then, I started to see failures always as positive thing, because you can learn from them, you can get better from them. And this is also what I really teach my directs and my team. And we really established a culture of seeing failures as learnings and drivers to make us better. Yeah, so I would say this is kind of my guiding principle that had the biggest influence on how I lead in the last years.
Okay, yeah, very good. I mean, definitely, I see also the importance there to learn, right? To learn based on failures. It's clear, right? And it also requires a lot of self-reflection again to do that, right? Otherwise, you can do a lot of these mistakes, but you'll repeat them if you're not reflecting thoroughly enough what actually happened there.
Yeah.
Right? Very, very good. And now we're coming to an end. Usually what I ask there is your top 3 recommendations for people who want to perform better at being a tech leader. Could you say 2 or 3 things that you say, this is thing that worked for me very well, and you would encourage others to explore it?
2 or 3 things. Okay. I would say the first thing is like code less, lead more. So I had the luck that the first team that I took over was really skilled and really experienced. I had no chance to go there on the technical level. So I was kind of forced to get out of this coding, although I love this. I see from some leaders that it was super hard for me, and I see this for others, that it's really, really hard to get out of this coding, because we often come from an engineering background. We love coding. And we always have the fear, or at least I had the fear, that I lose touch to the tech. But I think this is the wrong way. I think the right way is to accept that you now have another responsibility and actually focus on this leadership thing, and get more out of this tech. So it does not mean that you lose it completely, but I would say stop coding, at least for a while, and focus on this. The second thing, I think this is some sort of a mindset thing that is really helpful if you want to lead people. Simon Sinek once said, I'm not sure if I phrased it correctly, but he kind of said, if you are a leader, then actually if your team succeeds, they get the fame. And if the team fails, then you get the blame. And I think this is leadership about. And this is also something that you need to change with your mindset, right? Because if something goes wrong, then of course your team did it because they did the hard work. You're just the one who guides them through processes. But if something goes wrong, you are accountable for this because you are accountable for the team. And this is a mindset switch that you have to make, and that requires a lot of putting your ego aside. And I think the earlier you do this, I think the faster you can go into a real leadership role. And the last thing is, I would recommend to read a lot about people. So I always like to say, when you want to build products for people, with people, the first thing that you have to care about is people. And I didn't read that many management books, but I read a lot of books about people. So a lot about how people behave, how conflicts are, and so on. And I think this also kind of boosts my experiences as a leader and how I can act as a leader. So I would say these three things could be good advice.
Very good. So to summarize, make sure everyone understood it. I like the first principle is basically code less, lead more.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, definitely, I see this a lot for tech leaders to still be hands-on doing a lot of things. But at the end of the day, as you said, it's more about supporting the team, right, and how to do it well. It's a good thing. I think the mindset of accountability is cultivating the mindset of accountability and also figuring out how to really weave it into the DNA of yourself over time, but also establishing it in the team, right? This sense of responsibility plus accountability is a good one. Yeah, and the third point, reading, getting more and more information. I think you mentioned also earlier when talking about learning from experts in certain subject areas who are doing something really well, observing how they're doing it. I think that also fits into this. So basically, maybe to abstract it a little bit is keep learning, learning from the best in the field, maybe, and this combination could be then something that doesn't work just for you, but you would recommend for pretty much every tech.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is like just understand that you never learn out. So there's always something new to learn, and just never lose the hunger for learning.
Very good. So this is basically it, and definitely I thought there was a lot of cool insights in it. So I encourage people to probably rewind the video, make a few notes if you haven't. Take some of these bullets. There's a lot of actionable stuff in there. And also try to summarize the video in the notes and some of these action items that you can relatively quickly get to the point of those. And then thanks, Martin, definitely for taking the time today to meet and share your insights. Definitely very appreciate a lot. And with that said, I would say good luck and success on your journey as evolving and doing a lot of more stuff in the leadership space and helping other tech leaders and their teams become better. Yeah, thanks again.
Perfect. Dan, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.